Behold, it's the best looking portable monitor I've ever seen. This is the INNOCN 15.6 inch 15A1F. This is an OLED monitor. $319. Go ahead and click on the link in the description if you're curious about the price. Who's going to use this? I'm curious, like, do people want a tiny OLED screen? Do you want to play your emulators on it? Do you want to take it with you? So let me know in the comments, like, what would you use this for? $319 for a 15.6 inch screen feels like a lot. Are they going to be able to justify that with the specs? I don't know. Let's take a look at all the specs and then we'll talk about it. Thanks to Hookeys for sponsoring this video. Now these are OEM Windows keys. That means that you do your own tech support. You're not going to be relying on Microsoft, and they're generally locked to the hardware. We got a coupon code. Click on buy now. Put in coupon code TS25. Hit apply, and that price comes down. Now when you compare that to the outrageous prices from Microsoft, you'd have to buy this many times to equal the price of one regular key from Microsoft. As of right now, this Windows 10 Pro key will unlock Windows 11. We also have Windows 10 Home. Windows 11, you can buy it directly, Windows 11 Home, and we have 2 flavors of Office. Once you're finished, all you have to do is click on your user account up here, go to your user center, click on My Purchase Orders, just View Keys and Codes, and you can just copy and paste your key, hit Start, type Activate, click on Activation Settings, paste it in there, click on Next, and you will be activated. So head on over to Hookeys.com to get yourself an OEM Windows key at a price that makes sense. So it's 15.6 inches and it's in an extremely sleek case. Screen resolution, it's 1920 by 1080, so it's not 4K, but for me that's totally fine because of the size of this thing. The pixels look fine. Of course, I'm shooting at 4K and I'm shooting really, closer than I should. So on your bigger screen, you're going to see the pixel grid. My eyes don't see the pixel grid unless I get really close. The color depth is 10-bit, and you get 100% of the DCI P3 gamut, and you also get 100,000:1 contrast ratio. So when it comes to color, it's basically perfect. Response time is 1 millisecond. OLED, the response is almost instant. Here's the catch. It's 60 hertz. It's not 200 hertz or something like that. So you're getting 60 hertz. They do say on their website right here, it's like, oh, 60 hertz equals 90 hertz, right? 60 hertz. Well, okay, kinda. Yeah, I mean, like, OLED does look a lot better when it comes to fluidity of motion. So it's going to look better than 60 hertz. And that's because there's not a lot of ghosting. Things are not like the pixels come on and off much quicker. And that gives you a less smudgy picture when you're moving around. And that's one of the reasons you usually want like higher refresh rate. You don't want so much ghosting and everything. But I mean, even with higher refresh rates, IPS and VA panels and stuff still have a bit of ghosting. We'll do some tests in just a minute and see how good it is. The product dimensions, 36 by 23 by 0.8 centimeters. Again, it's in a very sleek case. I mean, this thing feels amazing. It's like one solid piece. And as far as the stand goes, well, we just have a very long stand that snaps onto the back with a magnet. That's it. So we don't actually have any screws. There's no Visa mount or anything like that. We just have a magnetic stand. It feels a lot more premium than those stupid floppy things, and I'm so glad I haven't been seeing those lately. In fact, whenever anybody messaged me and they got a little stand with those floppy, like folded up things, I'm like, no, that's garbage. I don't want that. It goes right in the garbage. So yeah, I don't take those little monitors anymore. But this one has the magnetic, stand on the back. 6.5 inches long. It's going to stick out the back quite a bit. Now, one of the nice things about that is you can turn it, vertically and then mount it that way if you have the right cables and stuff, because it's got such a long, it'll be back a little bit, but you can kind of run this in portrait or in landscape mode if you wanted to. Really, it's not that big of a deal, but it's just longer than most stands that I've seen. Let's check out the ports. So we have a mini HDMI and we have 2 USB-C. Now you can use one of these USB-C to deliver both the power and the video signal to this device. And it's only 1080p 60, so we don't need anything crazy. If you just plug that up to a device that can also output power, which a lot of mini PCs and laptops can do that, then you can just power it with the one cable, with the video and everything, and you're good to go. If you're using the HDMI, then you're going to need to use the USB-C, and they have a separate cable for that. So don't be confused. There's one cable that's a little bit thicker. That's the one that'll do power and video. The one that's thinner and maybe a little bit longer, that one is just for power. So when you're using the HDMI, use that one to also deliver power. Let's take a quick look at the ghosting now. I'm moving around a lot, but you wouldn't notice it. I'm playing Dusk here because Dusk has some great rough edges, so you can see when any pixel moves, you'll know. Got to make sure my camera is shooting fast enough to, number one, freeze the motion, and also faster than the refresh rate. So most of these are at 1/125th of a second. Zoom in right there. A weird looking pixel grid. All right, there we can see a tiny bit of ghosting right there. So you'll see when there's dark stuff on a light background, sometimes it takes more than one frame for that to refresh all the way. Like look over at this guy. So normally when I'm doing like an AHVA panel or something, there are multiple copies of this guy side by side. Look at this underlying pattern. This is weird looking. Don't see that with the naked eye, but you do when you zoom in. That's wild. Right here you see a little bit of a double, but again this is far better, and a little bit of a double right there. Again, this is still better than what you'd see with a VA panel or an IPS panel. I think this might be the most ghosting I've ever seen with an OLED. But overall, most frames, that is weird looking. Like when you zoom in and see like the background there, that's kind of cool. Anyway, you're not seeing too much ghosting, a little bit. That's, again, the most I've seen for OLED in most cases. This is a 60 hertz panel, but it's still better than IPS and AHVA. So there you have it. Ghosting is very minimal. What do we got there? A little bit right there on the ground, but overall, very good. So for me, this is going to be amazing for portable, just like watching videos, watching movies, portable media, and also portable gaming. But I haven't even mentioned emulation yet because, you know, we grew up playing all of the old school games on a CRT monitor, and while an OLED is not quite as crazy as a CRT monitor, it's weird how we've gone backwards. We've got really, really thin stuff, but, you know, the color quality is getting there. It's about the same, almost about the same as a CRT. Maybe better in some instances when it comes to HDR, I don't know. But the overall fluidity of motion is getting there with an OLED. It's not quite the same as a CRT. The color quality you get from an OLED is more reminiscent of the color quality we would get from an old CRT TV. So I feel like the emulators look better and the old ROMs and classic games look better on this than they do on most other portable screens. So that's kind of a bonus if you want to take this around. There is more fluidity of motion. It doesn't have black frame insertion or anything fancy like that. But for what it is, it does look better than anything else in its size range. And its price range, well, I mean, that's going to be up to you. Do you want something that's this small, this sleek, looks this good, has, you know, really good performance? Only 60 hertz, which does look better than higher refresh rates with IPS or whatever. But, you know, it is only 60 hertz. Easier to drive since it's only 60 hertz. But these are all things you need to think about, like how much are you willing to pay for a tiny OLED? That's pretty much where we're going to end it right there, because it does look awesome, but it's all about how much are you willing to pay for that awesome. Don't forget to head over to epicpants.com. We got stuff on sale. You want something to play some games with? Well, this right here, 19 bucks. I love the analog sticks on this. So I use this to play Hollow Knight, and extremely responsive. When it comes to the D-pads, I don't like it for fighting games so much, but I like it for like just moving around in games like Metroid or Mario or whatever. Tapping games like tap when you're like tapping moves like Mortal Kombat, not quite as amazing, but I like all the rest of it. And this price for a wireless controller. This is also not Bluetooth, it's wireless 2.4. So there's a couple caveats there, just read down here. But the reason I didn't go with Bluetooth is because wireless 2.4 has lower latency, and that's important to me. So head over to epicpants.com, grab you a controller, grab you some other stuff, and I'll see you online.